Today for you, we're going to be reading the lowest rated books on my physical unread shelf. So I've uploaded everything onto a fresh Goodreads account. I don't really use Goodreads, I'm only using it for this video, and we're gonna see what comes out as lowest.
Okay, let's filter this. Interesting. Right, I expected They Will Fall Down because after I ordered that book, I looked at the average ratings and it was extremely low, which is Steeped in Gold I also expected because although there was some good early press, everyone hates it. Mrs. March, I'm surprised to see here because I actually have heard good things about it. Pieces I expected to be lowly rated, but not that lowly rated. Lakewood I kind of expected because it's a horror and those tend to be quite lowly rated. Luster and Tripping Arcadia just narrowly missed it. I was hoping this video would attract me to some weird books, and I feel like it has. Quick cut to the next day. Today I'm going up to Brighton because, well, I do every year for this like open art thing. Seeing loads of art, it'll be fun. Anyway, I'm gonna start with They Will Fall Down because it is the That's probably why you're here. Anyway, I really do not believe this book deserves to have a 2.9 rating. I really don't think that's a good representation of how good this book is, because it was certainly enjoyable. I had a good time while reading this. I don't think it gets higher than a 3.5 though, because it wasn't an incredible thriller. The kind of twist bit at the end was just not great. But then it wasn't bad either, it was just kind of very standard. I believe it is like a Agatha Christie retelling-y sort of thing. It's probably a case of people preferring the original rather than this retelling. I also felt that the characters didn't always react like people, like all of these murders were going on, that's not a spoiler, that's the general plot of And Then There Were None. Loads of these people were dying and they were just kind of like, oh, Jeremy's dead, let's move on. There is no character called Jeremy, you cannot accuse me of spoilers, thank you. So yeah, that wasn't great. Also sometimes like character relations weren't always particularly well explained. But overall I thought it was a very fun time and I would probably give it like a 3.5. So do I think it deserves its low rating? No. Now I guess it's time to look at some negative reviews. One person is saying that the writing felt jagged. I feel like that's kind of the point with thrillers. It kind of adds to the atmosphere. I found the narrator, Miriam, to be highly irritating. Once again, I feel like that was kind of the point. I easily guessed the killer. Yeah, fair.
Ugh, this book was terrible. It was such a slow and predictable read. I don't recommend it. Read Agatha Christie's book and then there were none instead. Okay. Still haven't read And Then There Were None, though. I think we'll go with Pieces for our next book. I mean, the North American cover is vastly superior, but, you know, it's an okay cover, I guess. It's signed? Literally no one told me this.
Book mail time. Now, I'm severely chuffed today because I received 2 books from Harper 360. I wasn't even expecting to receive 1. So, like, thank you very much. Cheers, guys. Very, very happy. This one is a graphic novel. I believe it's kind of magical realism. There's kind of a ghost. It's set around Mexico / the border of the United States, so I reckon it's going to be pretty hard-hitting. It says it's for fans of They Called Us Enemy and Persepolis. It's drawn from both of the creators' personal family histories. It captures a wholly American story of both immigration and the search for home. And then the other one is A Song for Salvation by Alicia Dow. This is a young adult space opera of epic proportions. I always want to read more science fiction, and hopefully this will actually make me. Since it's YA, it should also be easy to read, and I have been struggling to get into books recently, so should at least be a good time. Wait, no way. No way. I got all 3 of the books I requested? That is insane. Thank you so much. I'm gonna have such a fun summer reading all these. Perhaps there's some sort of reading vlog coming on here. Anyway, I really must get back to doing some French. Is that what we're gonna do right now, or are we gonna do something else? I'll be doing something before lunch. This is going on the internet. Now, I'm starting to see why this has such a low rating. I don't really understand what's going on, and not in a good way, not in a way where I'm kind of like, oh, I'm mesmerized by the writing. I love the characters. I'm just kind of reading and it's not really sinking in particularly well. I don't hate it though, I feel like there's some good bits to it, but it's not really landing at the moment for me.
These characters really feel like distant relatives rather than people we're really meant to care about. Even the more major characters just kind of feel like somebody's like 3rd cousin once removed or something. I expect you know what I'm gonna say here. Do I agree with the low rating? Yes. Am I gonna rate it even lower than the average rating? Yeah, I am. This is gonna get like 2 stars. But do I actually despise this book? No, it's just one of those cases where I was reading the words and the words were not sinking in. It was kind of like the 7 Moons of Marley Almeida. That was kind of how it felt to read this book. I feel like Helen Oyeyemi had a really good idea, but that she didn't really know where to go with it. And that's why the page count ended up being only about like 256. With a higher page count and with perhaps more planning, this book would have been better. Because it could have been really good. There are mongooses being involved, it's set on a train, and for some reason books set on a train really appeal to me. It's weird and all of that kind of stuff. It was supposed to be interesting, right? But I didn't get swept away on this journey. I wasn't guessing. I didn't really care about any of the characters. Most of the time I didn't even notice how they were connected at all. So then I didn't really know who they were talking about at certain times, and it was all just like a bit of a mess. And I don't know if that is just my brain deciding, you know what, I'm gonna tap out here, or whether it was like actually the book, but I feel like it was actually the book, because I have been able to read books and for my brain not to do that, so I think it's just like what was going on and the writing. But I read another book from this author, I wouldn't be opposed to it if I found the concept interesting, but she's not one of these authors that maybe I didn't enjoy a lot of the aspects of the book, but I feel like they could definitely give me a 5-star. I don't necessarily have that impression about Helen Oyeyemi, so take from that what you will. I need to go to sleep now because obviously my brain's corrupting. Before we proceed, let's look at the more negative reviews. Pieces is framed as a whimsical train journey where bizarre and inexplicable things happen, so I thought it sounded entertaining. Me too. Honestly, every single page of this book was an absolute slog. I'm not sure I have ever enjoyed a book less in recent memory. It's nonsensical in a way that is painfully dull. Each whimsical character is dry as a bone. Sure, there's mysterious things going on, but nothing about this narrative encourages the reader to care in any way. Found that. The ending does wrap up the plot, but by that point I truly could not be bothered to care. Me too. Totally incomprehensible, incoherent, absurdist, fiction. I cannot tell you with certainty about anything that happened in this book. I don't think I can even faithfully describe a single character. I don't want to think about this book again. I don't even need to think about this book. It didn't even go in at all. On to the next book, which is going to be Lakewood by Megan Giddings. What even is going on at this point? It feels like a fever dream. Maybe that's intentional. So, Lakewood by Megan Giddings. It's a book about medical experimentation, about capitalism and how the desire for money is more of a thing with black and marginalized communities, since they are the ones who are more likely to be in poverty due to the discrimination they face in their everyday lives, and how this then culminates in them ending up in really unsafe and unknown situations, like Lena, our protagonist, who is desperately trying to find money to continue her university education and also help her mother out, who's really ill. I actually thought it was very good. I sped through it in just a couple of days, and that seems to be a fairly good thing for me at the moment with reading, because I haven't been doing a huge amount of that recently. I liked the writing. I didn't think it was incredible. It did read like a debut, and that's not me trying to diss the book, because it is actually a debut. I just kind of realised that it was our author's first book. I suppose my main criticism of it is that it could have been more terrifying. I did, for the vast majority of this book, feel quite disconnected from all of the horrors that our protagonist was facing and all the unknown situations she was in, which on paper are terrifying, but I didn't necessarily always feel the terror. But I feel like that may just be because this is Megan Giddings' debut novel, and you need time to develop that kind of writing and techniques and all of that kind of thing. But overall, I think I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. So, do I agree with the average rating? No. But I feel like it's the kind of 3.5 end of a 4. So it's kind of the lower end, maybe like 3.75. What do we predict for the reasons that people didn't like it? I'd say it's probably something about it either kind of fitting into more than one genre and not really being horror enough, because I think that's what people thought it was. Actually, if you look at the distribution of ratings, it's split at 37% 4-star and 36% 3-star, rather than having loads of 2 stars and 5 stars. So most people did actually like this book, even if it didn't blow them away. Okay, there was no climactic point or unveiling. Okay, that's spoilers. I didn't connect with the main character. It was bogus to see her go through this, but she also willingly went through this. I really wanted this to be a deeper exploration of medical experiments conducted on people from lower socioeconomic groups. It danced around the edges, but never really went far enough to have the shock factor that I had been expecting. The writing is pretty good, and there were some super creepy moments dotted in there, but mostly it was just dull. Do we come to understand the nature of the experiments being conducted and to what end? No. Do we find out why Lena and her family have been generationally targeted as subjects? No. Does this novel provide any sense of closure or resolve for the subjects or the readers? No. All of these unanswered questions leave the reader asking, what exactly is Giddings trying to say with this story? Beyond the idea that the governments view poor black and brown bodies as expendable, not much. So it was literally what I expected then. Anyway, I believe the next book on my list is Mrs. March, because I'm too scared to tackle Witches Steeped in Gold quite yet. It's meant to be like 29 degrees today, and I am really not happy about it. Oh, hello, Jet. How are you coping? You alright? I finished Mrs. March a few days ago, and honestly, I've kind of forgotten this book apart from the last bit. It wasn't an incredible book at all. It did feel like something I'd read before, and it wasn't one of those books where it's like, oh, it's really good. Even though it kind of doesn't really do anything new, the things that it still does is interesting. But I didn't really find that this was the case. The writing was good, I just kind of didn't really care or feel the tension. This book is about a woman who kind of suspects that her husband may not be the kind of person he says he is. There's this kind of murder of this woman, and Mrs. March starts to suspect that maybe her husband had something to do with it because he was kind of in the area. Normally I like a good old unhinged character, but this just was very, very mid. Really mid, and it has a 3.25 average rating, and I would give it a 3. So do I agree with this average rating? Yes, I do. It was very average. How many times can I say average? Guess now it's time to look at reviews. Who the F is Mrs. March? I'm still asking myself that. 2 stars for why did I trust Elizabeth Moss? That one's in Spanish, and my Spanish is not good enough to read that review. And finally, the novel does offer some originality. Does it? The writing was for Instagrammers. Okay, well that's fair. All those meticulous descriptions with so much emphasis on clothes, makeup, decoration, deli food, and everything enveloped in a symphony of pastel colours. Hold it right there. You may be trekking down that path too yourself. Well, somehow I've got 200 pages into Witches Steeped in Gold by Ciannon Smarts, and my conclusion is I'm giving up on it. I can't picture it. Nothing's making sense. I'm not enjoying it. Sometimes the sentences are just written in a way that doesn't make any grammatical sense, because it will have a main clause, then it'll introduce like another thing, and then it'll introduce another thing, and then the sentence will stop without finishing that main clause. I hope that kind of makes sense. I can't remember a specific example because I can't remember anything about this book. Yeah, this is not good. Like, I wouldn't recommend. I feel like quite a few people have read this book for this challenge and had the exact same outcome as I have, and they've given up on it. I would look at reviews, but I feel like it's kind of a bit unfair to read reviews of a book that I haven't even read, because some of the points may not be points that I had because I hadn't got to a specific point in the book to find that point. At this point, my explanation is just going off the rails. Back to main me. What do I even say now? Should we go in order? So first I read They All Fall Down, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5, and I didn't agree with the average rating. I do think this is better than what Goodreads says. Then I read Pieces by Helen Oyeyemi, and I didn't basically understand what was going on for most of it. And I do blame the book. I don't blame my reading comprehension. Then I read Lakewood by Giddings, and this was the biggest success of the video because I gave this 4 out of 5, which, you know, that's good, but it was kind of on like the 3.75 end, if you want to be really specific and pedantic. Then I read Mrs. March by Feito, which I really expected to enjoy more than I did. I tabbed like a couple of things, but otherwise it was just very mid. And finally, to end the video on an incredibly positive light, I DNF'd this book. It was bad. So bad I couldn't even get through it. So what have we actually learned during this? I think books rated from 3.4 to 3.7 stars tend to be winners for me, because I can name at least 2 other examples that have an average rating in that range, like Funny by Mona Awad and Wilder Girls by Rory Power. Both books I really enjoyed, and both books with a similar average rating to Lakewood. So maybe this kind of average rating is the optimum for finding a weird, good book. Maybe I should put this to the test. I don't know how I'd turn that into a video concept, but... Well, anyway, we've reached the end. That's the end of this video. I read the 5 lowest rated books that I own, and I kind of learnt nothing. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, all of that. Tell your friends about this channel because, you know,
views and stuff.
But yeah, I'll see you in the next one, which will be reading your favourite books of this year so far. Goodbye!